King Arthur, you are the boy. Okay, well, you know what? We did our best, and what came out came out.
It was authentic to us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Direct to Video, episode
9.
9 sounds right. I would believe 9. If you're getting visual on us, Lex just put a nasty spell on us. Her if someone's tallying up like who's winning the costume contest,
that is such a dirty lie.
Lex, you're eating it up.
Sorry, go on.
Because I had this I almost said clown. I had this crown lying around, just, collecting dust. I had no choice but to put it on. And then this red, obviously I have a red fur coat.
Everything out of your mouth is the most Leo thing I've ever heard in my life.
Duh!
I had this crown laying around, and it looks perfect on my head. And obviously I had a red fur coat.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's what we've got going. And I mean, Lex, the fact that you have a cloak lying around is kind of...
I feel like it does match both of our personalities.
It absolutely does.
It does. So I went for Merlin, if you can't see us. And Brett is obviously playing the iconic Wart Twunk himself, Arthur. Prince Arthur.
The fact that you use that name on him,
Wart, I know.
Wart, and they didn't even really give, at least with Dumbo, we got backstory on, where Dumbo, the name came from. Where'd you get Wart from?
That'd be like if I just started calling you, Toenail or something.
Right. I was like, pigskin. What?
Exactly.
Alert. I was very nervous about watching this film. I don't know about you.
Were you scared?
Nervous. Not nervous in the sense of I was actually fearful. Nervous in the sense that I thought this was going to be ass.
I
thought this was going to be literal ass.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, speaking for myself, pleasantly surprised.
I actually absolutely agree with that. As you can tell from my apparel, big Renaissance girly.
Oh, she's been to the Renaissance Fair a few times.
Well, so have you.
And I have.
More I add. And
I have.
So as soon as I started to pick up some inkling, when I heard Uther, I already know that that's King Arthur's dad. And I was like, okay, period. So is this the story of Arthur? Literally King Arthur of the Round Table. Right away, I was engaged.
Whoa. Yeah, wait, so is the king that died before?
I think it was his dad.
So Arthur was the bastard son?
I think so. And I'm confused why no one knew he was the prince. No, literally
theories.
Uther, I think canonically in the old medieval is his dad. We need someone to fact check that. But
I have never been more attracted to you. The fact that you knew that. You knew that. You're right. I think it's also the costume that's really doing it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But speak. Oh, no, speak.
I was just going to say, if I pass out, it's because I've overheated. And
okay. You were letting us know.
I'm suddenly just... It is the beard and wig.
Okay, I mean, that's good to know. If I see you crossing your eyes and kind of...
My eyes roll back into my head, yeah.
Oh God, heat stroke. And would you just like me in that case to just continue on with the episode?
I would just like you to absolutely carry on, make no comment about my dead body. I'll be resurrected.
I could handle it. Yeah, I'll take care of it.
I know you could. You could yes and to that moment for sure.
Yeah, and I'll be like...
If you can't see us, guys, I'm so sorry. There's a lot.
Oh, you're right. We have that's the thing I need to control is the physical comedy and the facial expressions. In the podcast realm,
we're like...
Yeah, I know. It's something I'm working on. I really am. I'm trying to emote with my voice.
Yeah,
show the excitement in my voice.
We've got to do that now.
We've got to do that now. Anyway.
Shall we begin?
Back to the film. Well, I was going to ask, as I always do. Preconceptions. Expectations. What were you thinking, honey?
So, Sword of Stone was giving me, medieval vibes, and I was a big fan of the show Merlin. Have you ever seen the show Merlin?
No.
Okay, well, Prince Arthur's really hot in that show. And there's a huge fandom that ships Merlin and Arthur, so you can imagine my surprise. Obviously not Obviously
No.
not this movie,
You can
but in the
imagine my
show.
surprise.
Because in the show. Stop that.
God, you're just such a book girl. You're such a book girl.
It's so fucked up. I am.
Yeah.
And
Now I want to watch that show. It sounds hot.
it's actually so good. And Merlin is adorable. And they have this like total bromance banter throughout the whole show. So of course people ship them. But Merlin's like a young guy. And Prince Arthur, I was like in love with the actor for ages. So I kind of, once I started to get those hints, I got so excited because I love that shit. But I knew nothing about this.
Yeah. I'm
What about
relatively
you?
same. I mean, the only thing I knew about the Sword and the Stone was at Disney World. They have the
Yes.
Sword and the Stone.
Yes.
And you're like, what fucking obscure movie is this from? This one. And also this period of Disney movies is one that I just considered don't they actually call it the Dark Ages in Disney film?
Do they really?
The films that tanked. It was the beginning age, and then there's the Disney Renaissance, and they call this the Dark Age, where it's the shit movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going
It's gonna
in
be
thinking
bad.
this is gonna be fucking weird and bad.
Yeah.
And I wasn't excited about it. And I knew Arthur was a character. I knew Merlin was a character.
Oh shit, you knew that. I had no idea.
Yeah, I heard of Madam Mim. I'm kind of a Disney nerd.
You
I
are
would,
a little bit more
watch-
than me.
I would watch Disney YouTube videos, deep dives. I was obsessed with those back in the day. Yeah,
that's
'cause I
kind of
just-
cute.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I knew a lot of the characters, but I didn't know anything about the plot. I knew not a tiddlywink.
Mhm.
So I was really pleasantly surprised. I was engaged. this entire watch.
Yeah, honestly, so was I.
Yeah.
And I kept kind of wondering, why did this flop? And maybe we can get into that as we go
Why
through
did
this,
it
because
flop?
I'm curious. You know what I also think is so interesting? First of all, there was nary a female character until the squirrels. And then our representation in this, as I dress as a man, was horny squirrel
Horny squirrel, complaining wench.
and complaining kitchen wench. And I was like, that's my gender.
That's my people. Yeah. No, trust me. I made plentiful notes on that,
And so-
it did not. Yeah, it did not go unnoticed.
And it made me think, oh, Disney, so you're doing all these Disney princesses that are blowing up, and then you're like, we need something for the little boys. No one watches it. So I'm just saying.
Right. Women's stories matter. They just matter.
Right, thank you so much. So
Anywho, should we get into this fucking shit?
let's dive into this stream as fish.
And I have missed saying this because I haven't said it for weeks, but guess what we open with?
A book.
A buck! We open with a buck.
You're so
And
cute.
I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, look at us back at our roots. And you know
Mhm, I
what
felt that
also was
too.
reminiscent about it?
Mm.
It was the art style was giving very much Sleeping Beauty.
Totally.
And I was excited about that,
Uh-huh.
especially the backgrounds and everything. But when we kind of cut to the animation of the people, did you kind of think it looked kind of fucked up?
Like sketches. It looked like
Yes.
sketches that weren't fully done.
Yes. Well, I think
Yeah.
because their budget for this era of Disney films was a lot less.
That makes sense.
So I was noticing that too because at first I was like, it looks kind of weird.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
The
I picked
lines
that up
look
too.
thinner, and then the closer you look, you could see little squiggles pop up
Yes.
every once in a while, and you're like, oh, this is
It looked like the first draft.
like the first draft, yeah. Which I kind of got used to it. It just kind of
So did
didn't
I.
look as polished as Sleeping Beauty, which was 10 years
Really?
prior.
That's
Yeah.
such an interesting point. Did you ever watch Robin Hood also as
No.
a kid? Because this kind of reminded me of Robin Hood. I think Robin Hood was the same style.
Yeah. Well, because Robin Hood's also in the Dark Ages as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of set in this time.
Yeah. They were
yeah,
obsessed with this time period.
Did you say who? They are?
They were. They made a
Yeah.
lot of movies in this time period.
They did.
Yeah. Which I think was actually, I don't know why I'm, remembering this now, but I think in the 60s, in culture, we have these, surgences of,
Yeah.
media. We had, vampire media a lot in, the 2000s and, zombie media. I think, in the 60s, they were obsessed with medieval times.
Really? That's so
Yeah, and that's when,
interesting.
Renaissance fairs started popping up.
Oh, when you come here, I am so excited to go to the Ren Fair with you.
The Ren Fair. I love a Ren Fair. I mean,
I know
I'll
you do.
bring this.
Bring that.
I'd love to.
Okay. Great.
But yeah, I mean, it starts with a book. It opens up, and like the
Mhm.
narrator comes in with this very intense vibrato. I loved his voice.
Loved
He was
his
giving
voice.
very much like a bard or whatever. The people with like the
He's giving like, have you seen The Witcher?
no.
Also very nerdy thing. Yeah. But there is a character, like a bard character in that sings about The Witcher, and I was like, it just sounds exactly
Honestly,
the same.
I loved it. It felt epic.
I loved it too.
But he's talking about how there's this king that died, and there was no heir to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to put the sword in the stone. Okay, Dr. Seuss, look at me rhyming just naturally. They decided to put the sword in the stone, and whoever can pull the sword out, that will be the king. And no
They
one's able to
actually
do it.
Said, just to clarify, they did say, "Whoso pulleth out this sword is rightwise." Okay, so I don't know. I just don't, maybe just like get it right. Which I would respect.
No, it was giving, and honestly, the fact that I've been watching so much Game of Thrones, like I'm in it.
You were right in.
I'm in.
You were right in.
Like
yeah,
I understand the lingo. I know what you guys
Uh-huh.
are saying. Like I get it. Don't even clock. Like I get it.
Yep.
And I actually made a note of this when the narrator was like, "In London," I was like, he ate it up. He ate it. He sounded so good. I had to rewind it a couple times. I was like,
"Oh my god,
you ate that one thing."
You ate that. You ate that.
Yeah. But the plot was honestly giving kind of Game of Thrones because they're like deciding who's going to be the king.
Totally, like the king has died and la 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 la.
No
who
one
shall be the next?
la 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 la. Money. Yeah, I know. So basically, that's it. Yeah. Oh, and I was like, I made a note. The sword in the stone. I was like, I'm getting this now. The sword is in the stone. It's at Disney World.
Yep.
I'm
now we know. There's like the carousel is like Prince Arthur's carousel or whatever.
Oh,
in
it
Disneyland.
is?
Yeah, and like King Arthur's, and I was always like, oh, did they like? Is this just randomly like a reference to King Arthur? No, it's because they fucking made a movie about it.
Movie.
Had no idea. No idea.
We're so stupid.
Have you heard the rumor that like someone, I don't know if this is true, but some Disney nerd out there knows that someone like watches all the kids that try to pull the sword out and then eventually like lets them?
Yes, because it's always like the scrawniest, skinniest kid who gets it, which honestly makes sense watching this movie.
Yes!
Because whenever I went to Disney World, I would try to shrink myself and be like,
you
I would try to
fucking
look
would.
like.
Did it ever work?
No, never.
God, you're too
Never.
burly and huge and hot and sexy and big.
That's what it is. That's what
That's
it is. Like
so hard to live that life.
But one thing I will never forget. I mean, being at an amusement park is when I went into the wand shop at Walt Disney, or no, not Walt Disney, at Universal Studios, and I was the wand picker. They picked me. I was the chosen one.
And so you got to like flick the wand, and they did all the lights.
Yes, and I got the wand. I still have it.
That is like a magical moment.
It was a magical moment.
You know what they did to me? They tried to pick me, and because they go, do you look like you don't have a wand? I go, yeah, I do. I obviously have a wand. I've had a wand my whole life. She moves on. I suddenly was like, no.
You fucking nerd. You couldn't stop it for a damn second. You're like, of course I've had a wand for This is my grandmother's
I'm like,
wand.
what do I look like, a fucking muggle, you dumb bitch? And then I was like, oh no.
I love it. You're trying to like yes and with her. You're like, yeah.
And she goes, honey, that's not the fucking bit.
Like,
Step
stick to the
aside then.
script, bitch.
You don't understand. I went into a depression when I realized my two friends were like, can you move on? Like, we're trying to have a good time.
Can
I was
you
like,
shut the
no,
fuck up for
I have
one
to
second?
grieve.
That's so funny. I'm sorry to bring up the trauma.
Yeah,
Back to the story. Back to the story. We kind of cut to this dark forest environment, which is nothing new for a Disney.
Nothing new. We're right at home.
Nothing new. Right at home. We're meeting Merlin, who's getting water out of the well, and he's like commenting on the Dark Ages, how it sucks to be in the Dark Ages.
Age of inconvenience. No plumbing. No electricity. I thought of you. I was like, I don't know why this would give Brett as a wizard.
Oh yeah,
would
no
be like-
AC. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm so pissed.
Yeah, I knew you would be.
Yep, he's complaining about it, and he's preparing for a visitor. And this is the thing about Merlin that you learn is like he is a wizard and he's magic, but like, and he's psychic, but in a that's so Raven kind of way. It's like he knows what's going to happen, but he doesn't know how it's going to happen or with what detail it's going to happen. He just knows he's going to have a visitor, and they're going to be, in this
a scrawny little boy.
And yes, and it's going to be an important visitor, and he doesn't really know the importance of why, but he just is like, yes, it's going to be fucking good. I know. And we're introduced to his pet owl, Archimedes.
Archimedes, yeah, which is like Archimedes' sphere, like a Greek thing, I think. It's just all supposed to be like smart. The fact that Brittany keeps randomly showing up in your background, it's just her belly button in that poster.
Yeah, I have a fat head of Britney Spears that will just kind of pop up whenever she feels
I love
spoken
it.
to. Yeah. I love it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Archimedes as a character? Did you like him? I was kind of annoyed of him, but
I totally get it. The one part I liked is when he saved Wart as the fish and then like couldn't admit that he just liked him. I was like, oh, we love a little grumpy sunshine. Like we love that. You can tell these two have been like homies for so long. They're so fucking sick of each other. Like but they love each other. I kind of liked that. But I'm with you. I was kind of like, do we have to be like sad and depressed this whole time?
Right. And I love that we fully like transgressed in the Disney, like we start from like little animals that squeak to now we have a fully talking owl that, again, no one even questions it. No one questions it. No one says talking owl.
Even think about it, Brett. This is your thing. I think you need to write a paper. A
thesis. Maybe, like, I'm trying to think, did someone question it? I feel like they would have made a bigger deal about it.
I don't think anyone did. They were like, this owl talks and is fully aware, and these squirrels are just fucking squirrels.
Yeah, and these squirrels are squirrels.
So, yeah.
I don't get it.
No, yeah, fair.
I don't get it. But yes, he's preparing for a visitor, doesn't know who it is. And he blows smoke to kind of see his vision clear, and I was like, stoner.
Yeah.
Did you see that? I was like, I'm not getting the vision correctly. He blows smoke.
It's like, let me take another hit.
Arthur appears in the smoke, and he's like, actually, I'm getting it now. I'm like, good for you, bitch. You smoke that Keef or whatever they say. The kids say.
Kush.
They say Chief Keef or...
Devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce. That's my favorite one.
Me too.
And then we kind of cut to Arthur. We're meeting Arthur for the first time. He's kind of with this hunky redhead who's like...
The fact I knew you would be into this guy, and I was like...
I was kind of into it. I was kind of into it. Like, I love a kind of himbo, dumb...
You do. But he wasn't very
character.
Nice. He wasn't nice.
Neither's Gaston. And guess what? I'm taking a peek in those pants.
I'm blocking you. Wait, okay. LeFou, smash or pass?
LeFou?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, you're fucked up. You're like 9 tavern drinks in. LeFou comes up to you. He's like, what are you doing later?
Okay.
Smash your best.
That's the thing. It's like, if anybody's able to woo me, yeah, I'll give you a shot.
I feel like he could hit you with some good charisma.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm drunk enough, a kind of just a look in my direction is all of a sudden like,
you know what? You're speaking my language. I completely understand.
Yeah. So maybe if I'm fucked up, as you say.
Okay, so everyone, you heard it here. Brett's into LeFou.
Well,
okay.
Don't twist my words.
Me derailing this train. I'm so sorry, Daddy. Get it back on.
No, I got it, girl. Chugga. He's hunting with this hunky redhead with a bad haircut and a bad Cockney accent.
So bad.
And no one else had that Cockney accent except him.
No. Why?
Don't question the realism, Brett. Just stick to the script. But Arthur speaks and he has this really like they really nailed a 12-year-old puberty voice on him.
Yeah, it was squeaky.
It was reminiscent of like my days as a 12-year-old, which is so funny because like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, she didn't have a puberty voice. She had a full-grown 35-year-old,
32-year-old woman. Yeah.
Yes, it was like, come on, it's equal rights.
No, you didn't have full representation in this movie. You're right. No,
yeah,
we should think about that.
You're right. But yes, they're like hunting. They're hunting for a deer. Arthur is like on a tree for some reason. I think he's like peering at the deer, and he falls right while what's his name? What's the dude's name?
The fact I didn't even learn it. Oh, or cat or something. Something with a K. I want to say.
Maybe it's K.
Every kiss begins with K. Situation.
We'll call him K.
Sure.
We'll call him K.
Done.
He like falls on K right while he's about to take the shot. He misses. He's like so mad at Arthur. He's like, Arthur, go retrieve the arrow for me in the dark forest because, you know, that makes sense. And I'm going to wait here. And while Arthur goes and ventures out into the forest, he obviously happens upon Merlin's hut.
Oh. And I loved my shop, our house, whatever.
Oh, you nailed it.
I loved the chaos. I loved that there was like something in a potion brewing. And I wrote, I need his robe and his sleeves. Like, I don't know. I was fucking with this wizard. And there's like, I wrote magic, let's go. Like, I loved it. I loved every minute. He
had an amazing little shop going on.
Totally.
And you're right. It was giving very witches hocus pocus, like the bubbling cauldron. And it's like, I love it. Like,
and I love how he's like chaotic. Like, he's so smart and he's still stupid. You know?
I know, and I've never felt more represented. I think both of us. It's like we have our moments where we're like,
point.
You know, it's like every once in a while we make a good point and we're shocked by it, but most of the time
and then we undo it. We
undo it almost
undo it with the next thing we say. Yeah,
with the rambling, and it's like, what's going on?
And I'm like, would you fuck LeFou? And you're like, we just talked about gender norms, you know?
Yeah, right. It's like, I love that dichotomy, and I like that because they could have made Merlin so fucking boring and serious and like magic and
he
bubbles.
Was way more fun that way.
But he was way more fun this way. I agree, but Arthur like falls through the roof and lands perfectly in the chair.
As you
that Merlin set for him, because he's like, I knew you were gonna come in here. Like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And they just start talking, and honestly, these whole like, there's a lot of dialogue in this film. I feel I was taking a lot of notes, and I was like, I'm taking too many notes on the fucking dialogue.
There's a lot. Like, honestly, though. Do you know why? So eventually, like, Merlin is, like, flexing his magic, and obviously, like, Arthur's eating it up. And then he's like, I need to come to the castle with you and, like, teach you, because brains is more important than brawn.
Yeah.
But I didn't really, like, get why. Like, I kind of missed the, like, hook. Like, what is it? Does he just know that Arthur is destined for greatness? Is that the vibe?
Like, why he felt motivated to be with Arthur? I think it was because he just knew... something was going to happen with him. I think that's why.
Gotcha.
I love that. Yeah, I know. It was kind of bizarre, but so was Merlin. Like, Merlin was kind of
true.
So, I mean, not surprising. But he's like, he does this. We get the first song in the film when he packs up all this stuff. He's like, what does he say? Habbledy-babbledy. Like, higgitus-figgitus. That's what it is. Higgitus-figgitus. And all his stuff kind of shrinks into his Mary Poppins bag, and he packs up so quickly. And as someone who's preparing for a move,
oh my God,
I would love this spell.
I thought about that when he was bringing all the books. I was like, this is me with my like fairy porn books. Like, I'm like, every single one's coming on this trip to Hawaii. What if I need to read them all?
Exactly. You know? No, exactly. And that actually sparked a question for me to ask you, and that is, if you could have a spell to help you complete a household task, what would it be?
You know, I think the first thing that comes to mind is cooking. I fucking hate cooking. Or maybe cleaning my bathroom. Those are the two things I hate the most.
I might steal your answer, because the cooking one.
Cooking? You're not a cook either.
I hate it. It's so tedious. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate the like preheat the oven to poo.
You want me to chop vegetables?
And then the kicker is, once you're done making it all and slaving away, you have to clean that shit up.
Clean it up? Absolutely not. Count me the fuck out. I had Postmates again tonight.
Right, and as you should.
And your dad made you dinner.
And my dad made me dinner. I had corn and sausage. It was honestly a very medieval meal to be having.
It was. This reminds me, I actually made all my friends go to the medieval times with me for my birthday, and we watched the joust, and we got so for legal purposes, this is a joke, so drunk, and they like give you like turkey legs and meat, and you're just like yelling at the knights, right? And then right after, we went to the clubs, and we all wore like our medieval times hats, and we brought our swords, and I made them all dress up, so we were dressed like fucking medieval people in this club.
Honestly, iconic. I love a costume.
People were eating it up. Like, when do you see that? You know what I mean?
You never see it. You never see it. Also, I will say those turkey legs are I had them.
Awful.
Awful. And why are they like $27?
Girl, it's like they made them in the 1600s and then transported them here.
No, literally, like they made them in the 1600s,
bad.
and they've been like on that rolly thing ever since. That's what it tastes like. It was so dry.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Oh
not
my
real
God.
meat. That's like cats from the alley or something, I feel like.
It's probably cats.
It's
It's
giving
medieval
from-
cats. Yeah.
What was what's the song in Sweeney Todd where she's like, put it in the mincer, make it beef. It's giving that. Helena Bonham Carter. Okay, amazing.
No,
I'll just go get
like
myself.
she's like the worst pies in London. I know that song, but yeah, no. Oh God, Sweeney Todd's a fucking weird one too.
It's so shocking. Sorry, I know that's triggering for you because you went to that sleepover where that kid was obsessed
I
with
love that you called that back. Yes, I did go to
Honey,
Sweeney
I
Todd's
remember what you
sleepover,
say.
and I thought I was gonna pee my pants, and I had my mom pick me up.
Famously doesn't love a sleepover. I'm so
No.
sorry. I'm derailing us again.
No, it's okay. Basically, Arthur and Merlin, they start walking to
Making
the
out,
castle.
walking to the castle.
And there's this little bit where the skinny wolf is trying to eat Arthur. Was it funny? No.
Oh, I forgot about that. See, I didn't even remember.
It was like, no, it wasn't funny at all. I was kind of like, what's going on here? And that wolf
It was
shows up like
lot.
a couple times in the movie, and you're like, just fucking go away. Like, I didn't laugh the first time, and I'm not going to laugh this time.
You make such a good point. Yeah.
But like, the wolf is trying to like eat Arthur, and they're like just ignoring it. And Merlin's mumbling, jumbling about some shit. And then Arthur's like, the castle's that way. And they realize they've been walking the wrong way the whole time. Because you're like, oh, Merlin.
Oh, you.
But there's just a lot of bits like that with Merlin in this film where it's like, oh,
Right.
you silly old duck, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay. But then we cut back to the castle.
Yeah.
And we're reunited with the ginger hunk and his
Okay.
dad, Sir Ector.
Couldn't
That's
tell
his
you.
name. His name's Sir Ector.
Couldn't tell
And
you.
he is apparently like Arthur's adopted father because we
Mhm.
learned that Arthur was like abandoned at birth and Sir Ector took him in and he's like now their like maid or like he like picks up after everything
He's kind
they
of their
do.
Cinderella. Like
Well,
they were.
I made a note because this is the point when they later when they announced the tournament in London, I'm like, this is just giving boys' version of Cinderella.
Absolutely. The part where he's like crying when he's cleaning or singing and cleaning with the bubbles. I was like, hello?
I think they were definitely aware that they were making like we have to make
I
a
think
boys'
so,
version
too.
of Cinderella.
I think
Because it
that's
worked
what
the first
this
time.
was. I
Yeah.
think they were like, our Disney princesses are popping off, but like, it's not for the boys. Because what
Yeah.
boy is going to watch a Disney princess, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. So we need to give them something like swords and knights and things. And this
Yeah.
is their version of that.
And flopped.
And, well,
But honestly, not really. I mean, I liked it, but
no, I liked
I
it
don't
too.
know.
I liked it too.
I don't know.
I liked
Anyways,
it too.
Sir Ector, he's kind of like loud and boisterous. He's kind of reminds me of the king in Game of
Kings.
Thrones.
Ned Stark?
No,
Not the king
in
of the North.
The first season of Game of Thrones,
Oh,
that king that dies.
Baratheon.
Yes.
Baratheon?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
dies because he tries to
Totally
kill a
the
boar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a lame way to go.
Ugh.
But yeah, he's
Yeah.
giving very much that energy, like to a T.
He totally was.
But Arthur arrives with Merlin, and he and Ector meet for the first time. And Merlin's like, I'm a wizard. I'm here because I want to educate Arthur, and yada yada. And Ector's like, I don't fuck with magic like that. Like, get the fuck out, yada yada. Merlin's like, oh really? Like, you want to see my magic? I'll make a blizzard in your house.
Uh-huh.
So, like, Merlin's, like, showing him, like, yeah, like, I got powers. Like, I can fuck you up if you don't listen to me, what I'm saying. And so Ector's kind of, like, scared. But he's like, fine, you could stay at our castle in our little tower.
In the best room of the house.
The best room in the house.
Which is this janky, withered-ass, little crusty tower, which gave me anxiety, especially during the rainstorm. But there was also, so they also have this plot line where they're talking about, okay, there's this tournament coming up and whoever wins is going to be the King of England. So they drop that little nugget, which is like so key to the plot, but then like is not addressed again until 12 minutes before the end of the film.
Right. That was a lot of this film. Like,
Yes.
you kind of are like, you're kind of like, where are we going with
The
this?
whole movie is just Merlin and Arthur just kind of kicking it as boys.
Literally, like,
I
and
mean, as fish and squirrels and birds.
Right, and I was like, whenever I'm watching these movies, I'm always like aware of like how much time do I have left. And for this one, I was getting nervous because I'm like, we have 10 minutes left.
The whole
And
wizard
I don't
duel,
know
and I
where
was like, when are we doing the fucking sword and the stone part?
Right, like I don't get where this is all going.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that fucking tournament in London, and whoever wins the tournament is going to be the king because no one can figure out the sword and the stone bit. So they're like, we have to resort to something else because we can't just not have a king.
Murder, war, fight to the death.
Right.
This is a boys' movie. If you don't forget that.
Yeah.
And I loved at like the end of this scene, like Merlin was talking about like that boy's got heart and soul, and he puts it into everything, and that's worth something. And like Archimedes says something like, "What do you mean? No, it's not worth anything. Like no one's gonna even notice him or something like that." And Merlin goes, "Well, of course I plan to cheat."
Yeah.
And I just love that. I just love that. This little gay little wizard.
I know. He's like,
fucking
well, I'm
shit
not
up.
going to play by the rules.
Obviously not, you fucking idiot. I love that.
I know.
And then we cut to this beautiful scene of this yellow golden river, and they're walking by, and it's their reflection. They're having this little talk. But again, I'm a little confused because I'm like, okay, the tournament, big plot, and now he's like, I'm gonna turn you into a fish now. I'm like, okay, I'm fucking with it, I'm rolling with it, but it feels like Merlin like wrote this plot in a way.
Well, yeah, and I think it was because like the way Arthur fits into this whole king thing is that he doesn't fit into it. Like, because they all decide that Kay, the son, is gonna be the king. He's brawny and big and hunky, and he's probably slinging a big dick. I mean, it's probably 7 inches uncut.
You put a lot of thought into that.
And like they're like, he's gonna be the king. It makes sense, you know. He can do all these things. And Arthur, they decide, is gonna be his squire if he follows all the rules. Like, you get to be his squire, which is like his assistant in like Hollywood terms.
They actually, like, if you think about it, this movie is super woke because there was actually a line like way later. I don't want to jump, but like Arthur says something like, just because you don't understand something, like, does it? I was like,
I clocked that too.
I knew you would because exactly.
I was like, good for you, Arthur. Like, yes,
he's the people's underdog, you know, and the whole like, no,
let women speak. 2023.
No, we should silence women. What do they have to say?
No, speak.
That was definitely a joke, everyone, just to be clear.
It was a joke, yeah.
What was I gonna say?
And that's why we don't let women speak. Kidding.
I can't wait to. Okay, wait. Can we
cancelled?
Let's crop that. So let's just get. This is why we don't let women speak, and let's send that to TMC. Let's send that to Science.
Yeah, that'll work really well for me.
I'm gonna create it. I'm gonna cancel you from this.
Honestly, I've always thought, like, do you ever think about, like, how am I going to get
all
canceled?
the time. I actually know. I feel like I've found things where I was like, immediately like purged them from the internet because I was like,
no, like that could be taken the wrong way. Yeah,
absolutely,
right.
And I feel like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, don't you?
I hope not. I mean, because it's like compared to what some of these people are doing. I'm like,
definitely.
I'm like, I was like, so right. I'm mean to my sister every once in a while. Like, it's not, I called my brother an asshole. Like, I don't think I'm doing anything terribly bad. I'm not like I'm not discriminating against it. It's like things like that.
I know. Have you ever gotten like really chronically online takes on the internet? That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like people nowadays, like, I cannot believe I'm saying, like, maybe we should cut this, but, like, I can't believe I'm saying, like, people are so sensitive. I don't think that. I love that we're, like, moving into this new era of holding people accountable, as we should. But, like, I've had, like, for example, my friend Seth, who's, like, a TikToker, he does Zillow reviews, and someone once commented, they were like, you only reviewed this because there's, like, a person of color who owns the house. And he goes, first of all, that isn't actually true. Oh. Second of all, like, it's like shit like that where you're like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah, I got canceled once by the a group of Irish people because I made a video.
What I'm saying. Like, what do you mean? Because what? Did you make a comment about leprechauns or some shit?
No, because it was this trend where it was like a couple months ago, but it was like my Irish ancestors watching me like make videos on the internet now for a job.
You got canceled
because when I dressed up as an Irish person, I had like a mustache and I put on a filter that made me have like dark circles under my eyes because it was supposed to look like they had been working the potato famine, like they had been working in the fields, like they're tired. But it wasn't even really a callback to the potato famine. It was more so like they've been farming all day, they're tired, and now I'm like this twink on the internet that puts on wigs. Like that was the
Yes!
And then some Irish guy like made a response video to me being
Shut
like,
the fuck
like
up.
you cannot claim your Irish heritage. Like this is why we don't like claim people who are like, you know, Irish immigrants in America because they like don't understand and yada yada. I'm like, whoa. And then all of a sudden all these Irish people were like coming for me in the comments. I was like,
And
I
aren't
can't.
you literally fucking Irish?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So
I
it was
got
just-
one. I got one once. I did a ranking video on like Disney Men in Bed or whatever the fuck. Also, we should maybe we'll just make this for Patreon or something. This doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
As a note, Martin. Martin. I got canceled once because I made a joke about Prince Eric and I was like, let's not forget he fell for a woman who literally couldn't speak. Like, basically, he only cares about tits and ass. That's the joke. And someone goes, that's ableist. And I was like, huh? And they were like, because Ariel's mute, she can't talk, she can't communicate. And I was like, first of all, she doesn't know fucking sign language, so not really.
Yeah.
And she was cursed. It's a fish cursed by a sea witch. Like, what do you? I didn't mean it like that at all.
Right.
At
it's
all.
like the hoops that some of these people jump through.
Yes.
It's crazy. And I feel like it's because they want to have their little moment. They want to have their little,
Yeah.
like, look at me, like, I got you, I bettered you, like,
Yeah.
I made you look stupid.
I would obviously prefer to live in this age where people are more on that side than the
Right.
other, where people aren't like, bag it, like online,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, yeah, burn
Yeah.
them at the stake. Like, obviously not, but it's just like, the Irish one is even funnier though. 'Cause
Yeah, the
that's just
Irish
like,
one was...
what?
Even in the moment, like, I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I really did fuck up. Like, this is
No,
the end of me. Like, I felt terrible, but it's like, God, like, in retrospect, I'm like, you were mad about that?
You
Out of
dork
all
eye
the
filter
things?
because you were working on the like what? And if
Yeah.
anything, you're making fun of yourself and our privilege now.
Right, that was the joke. It was
That's the
that was
literal
never
joke.
supposed to be the punchline at all. I don't know. It's so fucking wackadoodle. Anyway, back to the fucking
Sorry.
script.
Okay, where even were we? They're
remember.
about to turn into fish.
They turn into fish because
Yeah.
they just have that talk, and Arthur's like, I want to be a knight, but I can't be a knight because I'm not of royal blood, or I'm not of pure blood,
Oh yeah.
because he's an orphan. So he has no
God
chance to
damn.
even become a king. And then Merlin...
Your parents die and they're also like, fuck you, now you can't be a knight.
Right,
Like, nice, kick him while he's down vibes.
literally. And Merlin basically is like, just ignores that and changes the subject. And he's like, I can turn into a fish, you know. And so we have the scene where they
Classic
turn into
grandpa vibe.
fish. And while I was watching this fish scene, I was like, I know Lex is eating this up. I feel like you love a little animal scene.
I kind of loved it. What the
I
fuck?
knew.
I said this fish scene is so cute. Wait, this is kind of adorable that we think of each other because I think of you too.
Well, we have to. I have to because I'm like, what is she gonna say about this? Like,
That's romantic of us.
I know. Look at us learning.
About each other.
Love it. But while they're doing this little fish scene, we have another song called "Left and Right, To and Fro." Stupid bad.
I kind of thought it was cute. So, whatever.
Are you
Whatever.
going to be playing it in the car, bopping to it? Like, can you sing me a lyric now? Like, it doesn't have that kind of, like,
You
punchiness.
did
Like, it doesn't...
for me, Jesus. Why don't you sing a fucking lyric if it's your
if
favorite
you're such a
song?
fucking fan. Like, these songs, like, the past few movies, is like, no wonder we don't know about them, because they're ass.
Okay, you know, you make a point. I thought it was really cute though, watching the two of them like giggle while they were fish. I was like, this is so
That was
pure.
that was truly
And what
cute.
does Merlin say? He's like, let's go back and swim in the tall grass again. It tickles. And I was like,
I know.
That's the old person I'm trying to be. When I'm a granny, I want to just be like having a good time. I want to be hanging out with like my grandkids and be like, yo, what the fuck are we playing with Barbies today? Like, hook me up. Like, let me in. Like,
Great, let me tickle myself.
I just want to be having a good time.
Yeah, and that's
you
all
know?
that Merlin wants. But basically, his lesson is like brains versus brawn. Like, you have to
'Cause
art smart. Like,
He
you know,
starts
that's
getting attacked by that huge ass
truly-
fish, and Merlin is kind of like, figure it out, son.
figure it out. Use
Figure
your
it out,
brain.
boy.
And it's a hard lesson, but it's a good lesson, and it eventually works because Arthur does outsmart the trout or whatever the
does.
fuck that fish is.
But I was thinking about this. I was like, there's always like a mentor-student situation where the mentor like literally put like what? How we never see what happens. Like, what if your kid just dies?
Right.
And then you're like, well, guess the lesson didn't work, and then you just move on. Like,
Right.
what would have happened?
I don't know. I mean, he would have died. It's like trial by fire. But it reminds me now of those parents who throw their kids in their pool. You know what I'm talking about?
I feel
Have you seen those videos?
Yes.
There will be a literal like newborn baby, and they'll grab him by the leg and they'll throw him in the water, and they're like, "Swim, bitch!" It's his instinct. That's how they do, and the kids are like freaking out.
I don't know about all that. That
You
seems
haven't
traumatic.
seen that?
No,
Oh
no,
my
I
God.
have, but I'm just like, would you ever throw your baby in the pool? I'm just wondering.
Maybe to laugh. I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't. No, that's
You're like,
terrifying.
I don't want this actually.
But honestly, if you have like a pool at your house, maybe you get bored and you're like, well, what can we do today with the pool?
Let's chuck the baby in.
Let's throw the baby and see if they swim.
Okay, I'm gonna clip that next to the silencing women, and I'm gonna send it everywhere.
Good. I'm. You know what? It's fine. But yeah, that scene's basically it. They kind of learn. It's just the lesson: brains over brawn, and we
Brains
have
over
this
brawn.
lesson again
A
in the
lot,
film.
again and again and again. And yeah, so I feel like, yeah, we have the Cinderella moment where he's cleaning the cauldron, singing with the bubbles. You can tell he's starting to really get attached to Merlin because he gets really excited for the next lesson where they're going to be squirrels. And the squirrel lesson, here's the thing about the squirrel lesson. It started out fun and cute. They're like, okay, now we're going to be squirrels because the squirrel's life is crazy. It finally 45 fucking minutes in, I'm like, there's our first female character, and what is she? She's a sex-craved, rabid, never heard of consent female squirrel. And I'm
She's like,
this is my girl.
she is like,
it was also giving like Kronk in you know when he speaks, he's like squeakity squeak, squeakity squeakus squeak.
yeah.
I wish he had been there because I want to know what this bitch was saying. She was probably like, push me up against this tree and beat me down with your titty squirrel hands.
No, but like Disney does have this thing with these sexual female animals.
So sexual, though they sexualize women, period. And you know what I learned the other day? Apparently in history, my facts sound so legit. I'm like, in history, in the past, it was like very like women were painted as being these sex crazed, couldn't be controlled. Like the way that men are seen now, women used to be seen as that. Until they like basically got to the 1600s and they realized that women didn't need to also orgasm to impregnate people. Once they realized that, and then it became like there was a shift in our culture where men became seen as the sex crazed and women were crazy. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, this is giving what they thought back in those times, which is women are just right. Anyway.
Wait, so they used to think that you had to like
they were like, oh, the
in order-
female brain, it's not evolved. And it's so funny how the oppression just changes, but it's like, it's not, they're just driven by their loins and they can't control their sexual prowess and they'll just try to tempt you, those evil fucking wenches. Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking interesting. I want to learn more about that.
I follow this girl on TikTok. She does kinky history, and it's so
I
interesting.
love her. I didn't
Shout
know
out
that.
to her. We're
Kinky
mutuals.
Oh my
So
god.
I should drop her app, but I don't remember it at the moment. But
Kinky history. Just type
she's
that in
so
TikTok.
great.
She'll
Look
come
up
up.
kinky history, and she does it like on everything. And she did an episode about that, and I thought that was so
Wow. But
Right?
yeah, no, this female squirrel is like, she's horned
Holy
up.
fuck.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like touching Arthur and like all this thing, and Arthur clearly doesn't like it, but Merlin's kind of just sitting off the side, and
that
he's like,
creeped me out. He's like, "This is what it is. There's no
it's
rules.
nature.
You're
You're
wasting
right.
time resisting." I was like, "Oh,
I know.
oh."
Because he starts singing this song while Arthur's literally getting chased and he's not interested. And I pulled some
So
quotes from the
scary.
song because I was baffled.
Yeah.
He says, "That's just nature, boy." And he says, "It's a natural phenomenon. You're wasting time resisting.
I
You'll
wrote,
find the
"You're
more you
wasting time
do,
resisting."
the more she'll keep insisting."
There are no rules. Anything goes.
Right.
You're a him and she's a her. Again, heteronormativity.
Right.
here. Just
And he says, "It's a rough game. Everyone knows."
like
The fuck is this like? It's b song. It's so.
it was giving "Baby It's Cold Outside" vibes.
It was. It was.
Right? And I kept thinking of, I think it's a Holes quote where he's like, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa." And he's like, "Well, that's 2-9 bed."
Yeah.
It's giving that too.
Yeah, and the whole situation becomes worse because Merlin's like basically gung ho, like, "You go get her, girl, like get Arthur,"
So
until
creepy.
a plus size squirrel starts coming
With buck
for him.
teeth, who's kind of busted. She's a butterface.
Right. And then all of a sudden he starts to see a problem with it. Then
Right.
he's like, wait, I don't want
Right.
this girl on me.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, funny. So when she's not attractive, then all of a sudden it becomes,
So it's body
okay.
shaming too.
Then it becomes a problem. I was like, come on. And I love that little chubby girl squirrel. She was like,
Yeah. Okay, again, you are really good at that. You're really good at that.
well, because I kind of have squirrel-coated teeth. I think it comes naturally to me. I have what they call American Girl doll teeth.
You do not. Wait,
Yes, I do.
okay, you know what?
Wait, no. Because sometimes in a picture you'll you'll just see the two of them, and I'm like,
Wait,
girl, get out of there!
That's kind of hot. I like that.
Well, I'm squirrel coated, and so maybe that's why I'm able to replicate the sound so well. That's what our ASMR. will be.
ASMR. I was thinking the same thing.
Wait. But yeah, I mean, she's chasing him. Merlin's like not into it, and he's like, "Fine, I'm fed up. I'm turning back into
A man.
a human." And this actually made me laugh because the chubby girl squirrel sees him and she
She's
screams.
horrified. She screams.
The scream cracked me up because she's like, ah!
She was so
Terrified.
good.
She was, and then Arthur's dealing with the same problem,
The
And
squirrel's like on him
like cuddling him, like loving
Yeah.
on him, and
after she saved his life from the wolf.
right, because the wolf
She-
comes back. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that fucking wolf! Go.
Oh, yeah, good boy.
And so, yeah, Arthur turns back into a human while the girl squirrel's cuddling him, and she gets so sad.
So upset. And I will say, obviously I support none of that, but they have this little conversation afterwards.
Yeah.
And Merlin, did you think this was, I thought this was
I
cute. After that
did.
horrifying, terrible
I know.
scene.
It's funny how quickly my brain shifts to
Same. He
go
goes,
back to her.
right. She's crying, and I kind of for a moment felt bad for her, and I was like, Lex, no, she's not the victim. But I liked what Merlin and Arthur said. Arthur was like, that love business is a powerful thing. Merlin says that, and then Arthur goes, is it greater than gravity? Because he's just learned what gravity is. And Merlin goes, I'd say it's the greatest force on earth.
And I was left feeling like, why am I feeling this way? Like, don't feel bad for that squirrel. Like,
No,
but
I know.
she was like, there was like a single tear, and I was like,
Yeah. No, I get it. You kind of are giving her right now. You're
I
giving her right
know.
now.
with this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, with the furry and the forlorn. Wait, I would come back for you.
Thank you. Anyway, we cut back to the castle, and
We cut now to our next female.
and
Kitchen
for some backstory, Arthur and Merlin left the castle.
Oh, yes.
And because Merlin was able to kind of do this spell so that the dishes would be done by magic, as opposed to Arthur having to do all the dishes.
Yeah.
And so we cut back to the castle, and we get our first human female character, who is, not the best representative of women, I will say. She's kind of a complaining wench. She's like...
She's in the kitchen.
She's in the kitchen.
Doing the cooking.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for us girls. And she's like, Sir, there's magic in that kitchen! And they're like, oh my god. Sir Ector runs and goes in the kitchen, and he sees the dishes literally doing themselves. The piles and piles of dishes doing themselves, which you think would be a miracle from fucking God.
You would think you'd be overjoyed by that.
Overjoyed. And he's like, oh, this is dark shit. Let me remedy this by smashing all the dishes and creating a bigger mess for myself, because I don't understand what's going on here.
And that's... Yeah, okay. One of them said Oh, yeah. It was Arthur. He goes, they come in, and he's like, why the fuck are you freaking out? And then Merlin or Arthur was like, you call washing dishes and sweeping floors evil? And I just feel like there was like this there's this layer to this movie about like being different and being afraid of things you don't understand.
Yes.
And like, it's like Disney unintentionally maybe being woke about certain things that like famously sometimes they're seen as not being woke for.
Right. There was like a little underbelly of like,
yes,
you know, this could be a metaphor for being gay, for being different. You know, using that as your superpower. Because this is when Arthur makes that point. He says, just because you don't understand
something doesn't mean it's wrong.
Doesn't mean it's wrong.
And that really like hit me.
Right. It's because you're supposed to watch like Sir Ector smash these dishes and be frustrated and be like, why are you, this should be a good thing. Why are you so
out?
Why are you so scared of it? Why are you fearful of it? Why do you want to destroy it? Makes you reflect on nowadays, what are we scared of that we don't need to be scared of nowadays? That's actually quite
And why are we
beautiful.
Scared of it? Like, let's dive into that, you know?
Gay sex is what I'm talking about.
Anal. See, we're so profound, and then we're like, butt stuff!
Yeah. But yeah, Arthur kind of like gives it back to Sir Ector for the first time in the film. He's like, you know, as opposed to being like,
and he keeps getting demerits for whatever the fuck the demerits are for. He keeps collecting them,
right?
And basically, they're like, now you can't come to the fucking tournament. Now you're not going to be the squire. You're not coming to the tournament. And we have this sad moment of Merlin. He's like alone amongst his dirty dishes, and he goes, "I shouldn't have popped off," which I thought was really funny.
I also wrote that. I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm like, you did pop off, sis.
Guess
you absolutely popped off.
Guess I shouldn't have popped my pussy with this guy. I'm like, what?
You absolutely popped off, sister. I know. I think that's so funny that
Me
lingo
too.
has kind of come around. You absolutely popped off,
mama,
honey. Yeah,
honey.
But they're like. Merlin's like, well, you've hit rock bottom. The only way to go is up. Like, let's just continue with your lessons, and we'll, you know, turn a new leaf because you're not going to be the squire. We'll make something else for you. Like, you know, don't give up.
Yeah.
So they go to Merlin's tower and they start these lessons, and it's
I don't even know. I don't even barely remember this. They're like, he's illiterate. Then he starts getting taught by Archimedes. Like, you're right. There's a lot of dialogue. And eventually we get to this point where he's like daydreaming out the window. And he's like, I've always wanted to fly. And then he gets turned into a bird. Archimedes teaches him to fly. And Merlin also this whole time is giving me like a little bit like socialist Bernie Sanders vibes. Like, I just loved Merlin's vibe.
I know.
Anyway, they go and they fly, and he flies into, I'm like, there's so much plot that happens.
So much plot.
And there's like 10 minutes left of the film, by the way. We haven't even got to the Sorcerer's Stone.
We are at the end of the film, and you're kind of like, where are we going?
Over.
Yeah.
And he basically like flies, and then of course it's like another fish scene. He's flying, and then, which I loved the flying scene, but then they're gonna be attacked by this hawk, and he crashes into this witches, and I'm like, there's the third representation, witch.
Yes.
So horny squirrel, like we said, tavern went cook, and witch, ugly witch, and this scary ugly witch is basically gonna destroy him, is what she says. So then Merlin has to save him with a wizard's stool, and I just skimmed through so much of that.
You did. You were the fast forward button, girl. I mean, you nailed all the points. Yeah, they turn into birds. They crash land in a Mad Madam Mim's house, and she is like, I guess. She's the villain of the film, Mad Madam Mim. I've heard of her before, and she really is like the crazed woman kind of stereotype. Like, we've really nailed all the negative female stereotypes.
Check.
Check. We've got female service worker who's complaining. We've got horned up female animal. Temptress, and then we've got a witch. We got a crazy witch, and we nailed them. Right, and she uses dark magic, so she's like the antithesis to Merlin, okay? She's like, and Arthur, she like asks Arthur, like, you know, who's more magical, me? Like, who's more powerful, me or Merlin? And Arthur's like, well, Merlin uses his magic for good, and you're kind of like doing some bullshit. Which, honestly, she was doing the same magic that Merlin does.
I know, they didn't really like specify how that was like dark magic. How it was
dark, yeah. Other than the fact that she's a little nuts. But, you know, which one of us aren't nuts nowadays? Okay?
No, and she was kind of hilarious. I'm like, I know the different girlies are eating this up because, like, she says stuff like, it sounds like someone's sick. I do hope it's serious. Like, kind of fucked up. She's like, you know, I could make myself uglier. And fucking Arthur goes, well, that would be some trick. As in, girl, you're already busted as hell. Yeah. How are you going to get uglier? I was like, damn.
The subtle reads from Arthur, I'm like,
I know. Kind of like he popped off. You know what I'm saying?
Popped off.
And to save Arthur from being basically destroyed by this woman, Merlin and this lady have a wizard duel that goes on for 35 minutes. And like, listen, I love a wizard duel. At
I know
first
you
I was
do,
like,
girl.
I'm in it.
You're in your cloak right now.
And then I was like, it's not ending.
Well, because they're turning into every animal, and it's kind of like this bit where, like, Merlin turns himself into an animal, and then Madame Mim turns herself into the predator of that animal. And it's like this bit, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like, she's kind of, she plays a dirty game.
Different magic, maybe.
Right,
yeah.
but Merlin is kind of, outsmarting her, and it gets to a point where you think Merlin has bested her, and she's like, actually, I'm going to turn into a dragon, which is the one rule she said at the beginning of the duel. We're not going to turn into fantastical creatures. But she's like, I'm breaking the rule. I'm turning into a dragon.
She was like, nothing crazy like purple dragons. What does she do? Literally exactly that.
Purple dragon. But Merlin outsmarts her because she, like, grabs Merlin.
This was badass. This was
so good. Merlin turns himself
good.
into a mouse, and the Mim as a dragon grabs him, and you think it's over for Merlin, and she opens her hands, and she's like, he's not here. And he's like, actually, I am here. I'm a germ.
He basically, like, comes over on, like, the stereo system. He's like, do you have me? Do we read? Okay, great. Guess what, motherfucker? I'm a fucking disease.
I'm fucking in your head. Yeah. And he basically gives her, like, COVID. I mean, she gets sick.
It was Rona for sure.
Yeah, and that's how he wins the duel, and they leave Madame Mim's house. And it's another lesson. While they're walking away, Merlin's like, it's brains over brawn. We've got this point.
Biological warfare. Brawn. I took her down with that. Totally. And then, okay, something happened. Okay, yeah, Merlin. Okay, oh, right. So then they get back to the castle, and then they're like, oh, turns out Kay's squire has the mumps, which I was like, is this somehow connected to Mim? Anyway, we didn't unpack it, so I just moved on. And then he's like, Arthur gets so excited because he's going to get to be the squire for this upcoming tournament. He tells Merlin. Merlin's so fucking pissed, and then Merlin says this iconic line. He goes, blow me to Bermuda!
I know. I'm about to use that in the bedroom. I was like, blow me to Bermuda? The fuck? He literally turns into a rocket ship. He turns into a rocket ship and flies off. It was actually very funny.
I'm going to start saying that in, like, party situations.
Yeah.
You know? Like, why not? Let's bring that back.
Yeah, it was very genie-coded, like from Aladdin.
Totally.
He just kind of shoots himself off.
And he's gone.
So they end the duel with Mim, okay? They go back to the castle. They learn that Kay's squire has the mumps. So basically now Arthur is re-promoted to being the squire.
Yep.
And they're going to London.
And Merlin's like, get me the fuck out of here. This is everything I've been talking about. Yeah, but no, it's good to revisit. This is everything I've been talking about. That why do you even want to do this? And I thought this was a bit unfair of Merlin. I gotta be honest. I was like, Arthur's always wanted to do this. Like, you can value intelligence and want to be a squire.
Right.
I don't know. They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
And I also wrote that. I was like, what do you expect from Arthur? Like, what do you expect from him? Like, I get it. Like, but like, this is a big promotion for him. Like, this was kind of all he had his sights set out for, and he's finally doing it. And like, ease up a little bit on the boy. Come on.
It was, again, giving, like, a boomer trying to, like, force, like, I value this, so you must, too.
Right.
Like, God, you guys gotta let it go.
Right. But once Merlin says, blow me to Bermuda, he's gone until,
he's
like,
gone.
the last 2 minutes of the film. So you think Merlin's gone. So now it's just Arthur and Archimedes sticking it out, and they're in London. We, like, sharp cut to London.
5 minutes left of the film.
Mind you, 5 minutes left in the film. We have no idea where the sword and the stone is even fitting into any of this. They're in London town, and we're watching Arthur watch the jousting going on, and there's, they're fighting and whatever. They whip out the swords and start fighting. This is when Arthur's like, fuck, I don't have the sword.
This was dopey coded. I was like, bestie, you've wanted this job your whole life. You forgot the fucking sword at the inn.
I know.
I wanted to root for him, but I was like, baby, I know. It's angel, like, baby.
That's kind of the one thing you needed to remember.
What do you fucking mean?
I know. I was a little disappointed in Arthur in that moment. I was kind of like, maybe we should be washing the dishes.
This is why Merlin said, blow me to Bermuda. I don't want to watch this.
I can't watch this shit. So Arthur frantically runs back to the inn, only to find that it's locked because everyone's at the fucking tournament.
And Archimedes is trying to help him out because Archimedes is still his boy.
Right.
And he's like, sorry, kiddo. And then I thought this was really cool, though. Like, this sword in the stone is, like, so famous. Everyone's like, oh, my God, the King of England. And this is such an underdog. He's like, I need to get this sword for this other guy to do what I really want to do, which is be a knight. Oh, my God, there's a random sword right there. Let me just go get it. And like a fucking boss, he goes up and he grabs a sword and, like, this godly light starts coming down. There's all these sparkles. And he immediately kind of panics. He's like, did everyone...
Yeah. Y'all seeing that, or
what's it? But he's like, well, fuck it. I fucking need this sword.
Right.
So he pulls it right out and takes it to the tournament.
Yeah.
And what does Kay
thinks nothing of it.
Thinks nothing of it. And Kay grabs the sword and goes, this is my sword.
This isn't my sword. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
And Sir Ector's like, wait a damn minute. There's something inscribed in the sword.
It's like, minute.
And in very, like, medieval speak, I'm going to, like, gayify it 21st
please
century.
Do, please.
But he's like, basically, whoever holds the sword is Queen Mama. Like, you are kingdom of the house. Like, you
Charlie
are, like...
slay the boots down.
Slay the boots.
Sissy.
Like, you absolutely slayed. You will absolutely be queen/king of England. Yes, Mama God. And so Arthur's like, fuck! I didn't know that. And everyone's like, no way, this skinny little boy,
Yeah, they're just laughing at it. They're laughing.
There's no way this skinny little twink did that.
Like, maybe you should fucking prove it then, dude.
Right.
Oh, why didn't you fucking prove it then, dude?
So they run back to the stone, and they stick the sword back in the stone. And first of all, I'm thinking, okay, you already took it out. Like, it's going to be like...
That's what I thought, too.
You know, it's already
going to be lubed up. But don't worry, they got us. Because one of them goes, well, you can't stick it back. It's not going to be the same. And so Kay goes, yeah. Oh, it's Kay. It's Kay. He's like, oh, that's not going to work. I'll just pull it out. No, it's not even going to work. And it won't come out.
Right. So then they're like, we'll let the boy do it. Let's see it then. If he pulled it out once, he can do it again. And sure as shit...
She said. That's what
he walks over to that sword, grabs onto it, sparkles start raining from the heavens. There's Brittany again. Sparkles start raining from the heaven, pulls it out like it's no big whoop. People are like, holy shit, bend the knee now.
Bend the knee! Great Game of Thrones reference. In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, bitch.
Right. So they're all bending the knee. Sir Ector bends the knee. Kay is like hesitant to bend the knee.
He's like, bend the knee to your king.
Right. Yeah. They bend the knee. Sharp cut, King Arthur is in the palace. And he's on the throne, and he's freaking the fuck out. And this is where I really related to Arthur. I really related to Arthur here, because I'm like, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, I actually don't want this. This is too much pressure.
Totally. Fair.
I mean, what would you do? Would you be thrilled, or would you be like, fuck?
I think I have this sick, like, when I'm in, like, crisis mode, I'm like, well, I'm here, I gotta figure it out. So I think I would do that. But I wouldn't know what the fuck I was doing. I would pretend that I did. And then in the quiet confines of my bedroom, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And sob. For sure.
It's the pressure. And Arthur tries to escape. He tries one door, and people are chanting, "Hail King Arthur!"
He can't escape it.
And he can't escape. He tries another door, same thing. He's like, fuck, I wish Merlin was here.
Who appears,
he's
but none other than Merlin
is that my
himself. Cue? Yeah, he's like, cue the bubbles, cue the bubbles.
Cue the bubbles. I'm in.
Comes right in.
Comes right in.
Fully in 20th century Bermuda garb.
Yes.
He says, I'm back from Bermuda and the 20th century. And what does he say? He fucking drags he goes, and they can have it.
Yeah. He's like, I hate that shit. I'm like, AC, air conditioning. That's the thing that hangs me up every time. It's like, you can't give that up. You can't give up AC.
For me, it's medical care. That's the big one for me. I'm like, well,
for me,
dying
AC
of the common cold.
For me, AC is medical care.
I can't with you.
So that's one and the same. We agree.
You gotta keep that bussy cool.
Right. It's so steamy down here.
We got that.
No. Absolutely not.
Okay, perfect. Keep breathing. Keep your breathing.
But Merlin appears and he's like, no, don't worry, Mama. Like, I got you. We'll do this together. And I thought this was so funny because he's like, you're a great king. Like, you are the famous King Arthur. They're going to make movies about you.
Oh, yeah. Motion pictures.
Yeah. And Arthur's like, what's a movie? And this is the last line in the film. Merlin's like, it's like television, but without commercials.
And then it's like, It's fucking done.
Yeah, and that's it. And I was like, I
So
fucking love
good.
that. That was
Same.
funny.
That was funny. It was very Merlin. He stuck to his guns the whole
Very
time.
Merlin. And that is the sword and the stone, folks.
That's the motherfucker. And you guys, thank you to whoever suggested this. I would have maybe gone my whole life without ever watching this. Like, I did not even know this was Disney.
Right.
And I mean, like, how'd you feel about it? Let's give it, how many
really
swords out of stones would you give it?
I really actually did enjoy it. I would give it like maybe a 7 out of 10.
I was going to say the same thing. 7 swords out of 7 stones or whatever.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
And it makes me very curious on why it flopped.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, but I mean, I really loved it. I thought the plot was there. I mean, it was like kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little all over the place.
Well, the treatment of women, I'm just remembering now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to lose some points for me. I might bring it down to a 6.5.
Well, I'm with you then. I'm not going to suddenly be like, you know what, 8. Actually,
Right.
8.
Yeah. I love that women, like, women rights is only worth half of.
You know what? Women were fucking disregarded completely. Down half.
I'm like, you know what?
Steve, can you
I'll bring it down to
lower that
6.5.
Brett is woke.
What?
Can
No.
someone clip together Brett going, "We silence women"? And
No,
put
I
that
definitely
in
had
the
some
pool.
sound bites in this where I'm like, you could really ruin my life. I dare you.
Don't dare me, I
No,
will.
I mean, I thought the plot was there. I thought the story, the underlying story of like the underdog. I love how Arthur doesn't have this like big buff guy arc like in
I
Hercules where
totally
he
agree.
becomes
I totally agree.
like the ideal masculine. You know, he's just like the scrawny kid
Mhm.
who uses his brains.
I
and
loved that.
becomes
I loved
king.
that.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, what was your ranking?
No, same.
Okay.
We'll knock her down to a 6.5 because it's fucking shocking. But what are you going to expect from these movies at this point?
What are you?
I'm just waiting for women to, that's what they have been given.
Right.
So it's absolutely not okay, but it is what it is. 6.5. But I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. Yeah, the one
truly
big
did.
thing right from the beginning, though, I was like, I just wish back then we had those stories where, like, it was just a little girl who was going to pull it out of the stone. Like, that's all you needed. You don't even need to change anything else. Just make it a little girl, and that's literally it.
Well, if they do a live action remake, they probably will. They might.
We should unpack the Snow White live action remake at some point.
I know. Maybe we'll do a Patreon little moment on that.
That would actually be that could be a good idea.
There's a couple things I want to talk about with you. Like, I want to talk about the Snow White live action reboot. I want to talk about Disney Plus getting rid of password sharing. And
What?
Yeah, in
I didn't
2024.
know about that. Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah, we need to
There's
talk
a couple
about that.
Disney topics. Because this is the thing. It's like when I tell people I have a Disney podcast, they think I'm like a Disney gay, like I'm pro Disney all the way. Like, no, I'm very critical of Disney.
Right,
as we all should be of corporations. Like,
right.
You know, like,
Right.
So I definitely think they're worth criticizing. As great of art as they've created throughout the years, like, they definitely need to be kept in check.
Why are we getting rid of the sharing passwords? Like, do you need that more money? Like, what?
Oh yeah, they make way more money. I mean, Netflix actually, like, as much as people complained, they made a lot more money because people had to buy their own accounts.
I'm sure they did, but like I'm saying, like, do you need that? Do you need that?
No.
Does the CEO? Because it's not going. I don't think it's going to like the actors, the writers, the workers.
It's not. It's
going
what
straight
people
to
are
the
saying.
pockets of these super rich people. Like, anyway, that's a whole.
I know.
Let's unpack the state of the economy.
I know. Also, I have to ask, back to the movie, who's your favorite character?
Oh my god, great! Probably maybe Merlin. I
Mm.
mean, I loved Arthur, but like, Merlin was hilarious. I was fucking with that wizard from the start. What about you?
I think it's a tie between Arthur and Merlin.
I think same. I honestly think same.
Because, I loved, I mean, not that I'm like, craving male,
No.
what's it called?
No.
Like craving,
Representation?
like, representation, that's the word. Male representation in film. But it is refreshing to see, like, especially a movie made in the 60s, like a little skinny
That's so valid.
boy.
Because I feel like the patriarchy it hurts men as well. Because it's like men have to be
amen.
this and this and this and this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Girl, no.
Girl,
No, you don't.
hurts
No,
all
you
of us.
don't. It hurts
So
all
I
of
would
us.
say, but also Merlin challenged the patriarchy as well. He was in a dress the whole time. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
All that. I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
So what are we doing next? I feel like should we do like a popular one next?
We probably should.
Right? Because we did kind of a little underground one.
I should,
what were you going to say?
No, you go. No, you say.
I was going to be crazy and say, like, do you want to do, like, today I did, like, a Q&A on Instagram, and one of my questions, I just was like, ask me anything, and someone was like, are you guys going to do Disney Channel original movies? Like, we could be crazy and go off the guide. We could do, like, Camp Rock or, like, High School Musical.
Oh, my God. Like, a way modern.
I don't know. Like, or we can keep sticking with this, but maybe jump a teeny bit ahead and do, like...
God.
Like a Beauty and the Beast or like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, because when you said jump, I was thinking Renaissance, but I mean Disney Channel, that would be fun to visit.
We could like be like, wait!
Yeah, we're like sharp left. I'm down.
Camp
What
Rock.
Disney Channel movie? Camp Rock? Girl, I don't think I actually have fully seen that film.
I feel like maybe we should. I feel like maybe we should just be so chaotic. In the theme of Merlin, we should just say fuck societal norms, fuck our plans. Fuck everything. Let's just do Camp Rock.
Right.
We're going to Camp Rock.
Camp Rock. Because for me, when I saw Camp Rock, I was like, no, I'm High School Musical boy. I don't want to.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, I don't want to take this on. So let's do Camp Rock. We're doing fucking Camp Rock.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah. That's nuts. All right. Well,
surreal. Okay.
Everyone,
stop us now.
Thank you so much again
Thank
for
you guys.
listening. I'm sure this episode is fucking chaotic. I can't wait to listen back to it and listen to all the bullshit that we were talking about.
We were joking. We go black. I black out.
I blacked out. But I want to thank y'all so fucking much for listening and being so sweet. Your comments and your DMs, your reviews, they mean so freaking much. Thank you to our patrons. Please message us on there if you want certain thing, like if you want to see certain things, or we're always looking for like Patreon content of like what y'all want to see, so let us know.
And we have a huge list of questions that we're going to get to on the Patreon. That doc of our Q&A just keeps growing. We're going to film another one this week, post it on the Patreon if you're not already on there. If you want to ask us a question, we'll answer it there. And just fucking love you guys. I feel like so many opportunities have unlocked for us because of y'all.
I know. I love. I'm like literally indebted to y'all.
So am I.
If you needed like pee in a cup, I would do it.
Honestly, same.
That came out of left field. That's legal. Anyway,
should we leave with a Gregorian chant?
Let's do it as they did back in the medieval days.
As they did. Okay.
Dorime,